flipping through the newspapers, switching through multiple news channels, exploring different websites and online mediums for relevant news? Keeping up to date with important news is not only time-consuming but also requires meticulous upkeep of notes for thorough revision. With a limited period in hand and abundant resources to study from, do not let current affairs come in the way of your prelims success. Join the PT 365 program by Vision IAS and advance in your preparation for current affairs. Starting on 9th January at 5 p.m., this 20-day course offers comprehensive coverage of 1 year of current affairs in 60 hours. Join for improved knowledge with complete coverage of The Hindu, Indian Express, PIB, Economic Times, Yojana, Economic Survey, etc. Doubt-clearing sessions and mentoring for thorough knowledge. Access to Sandhan personalized test with 25,000 plus questions. Access to live and online classes for flexibility in timing. It's time to devote your energy to smart learning and not running. Enroll today and excel in UPSC prelims with a strong command of current affairs.
Hello and welcome to this edition of News Today. Without delay, let's have a look at the headlines first. India's poverty measurement framework needs urgent revision to reflect rising living standards, says study. Union government approves funding for Project Line to enhance conservation efforts. Supreme Court sets aside High Court order due to judicial overreach. Rising flood frequency in high mountain Asia since 2000 due to climate change, says study. Ahmedabad Municipal Corporation becomes first urban local body to include separate climate chapter in its budget. Prime Minister calls for 10% cut in edible oil consumption to fight obesity. In our first news for the day, we turn our attention to a significant development in India's poverty measurement framework. A new study suggests that the existing methods of measuring poverty are outdated and need urgent revision to reflect the country's rising living standards. Let's break it down. To begin with, the study compares data from the 2022-24 Household Consumer Expenditure Survey with the 2011-12 data, shedding light on important changes in poverty and inequality. The study reveals that the poverty headcount ratio, or HCR, which indicates the percentage of the population living below the poverty line, has seen a drastic decline. At the $1.90 PPP poverty line, the HCR has dropped from approximately 12% in 2011-12 to just 1% in 2023-24. Another key observation is that the poorest households have experienced significantly higher growth in consumption expenditures compared to wealthier households, highlighting a shift in economic distribution. However, the study raises a crucial concern. India's existing official poverty lines, such as those proposed by the Tendulkar and Rangarajan committees, are now outdated and do not accurately capture current deprivation levels. Before moving ahead, let's take a moment to understand the different types of poverty measurement. Absolute poverty is based on a fixed income threshold necessary to meet basic needs. The World Bank defines this as $2.15 per day for low-income countries and $3.65 per day for lower middle-income countries. Relative poverty, on the other hand, compares an individual's income to the overall standard of living and is commonly used in developed countries. Multidimensional poverty considers various factors beyond income, such as health, education, and living standards, and is measured through the UNDP's Multidimensional Poverty Index, or MPI. Lastly, subjective poverty is based on self-assessment, where individuals report whether they feel poor based on personal and societal expectations. Understanding these different measures is crucial in formulating more effective poverty reduction strategies. So what's the way forward? The study proposes two new relative poverty thresholds to ensure poverty measurement keeps pace with economic progress. The first is a relative poverty line based on the 33rd percentile of consumption. This approach moves away from a fixed poverty line and instead defines poverty based on the spending patterns of the bottom 33% of the population. The second is a relative poverty line based on income. Taking inspiration from Europe, where poverty is defined as 60% of the median income, the study applies this method to India. Under this framework, 16.5% of the Indian population was below this threshold in 2023-24. A revised poverty line is crucial because it better reflects updated consumption patterns, making it more relevant in assessing deprivation. Additionally, it ensures that poverty thresholds adjust automatically with economic growth, providing a more accurate measure of poverty in modern India. With these findings in focus, the call for updating India's poverty measurement framework is stronger than ever. In a major step towards wildlife conservation, the Union government has approved funding for Project Lion. A budget of approximately 2,927.71 crore rupees has been sanctioned, with key initiatives aimed at securing the future of Asiatic lions. One significant component of this project is the establishment of the National Referral Centre for Wildlife, or NRCW, in Gujarat's Junagadh district. But why is this important? The NRCW is designed to track wildlife diseases, particularly zoonotic ones, diseases that can spread between animals and humans. For instance, in 2020, an outbreak of babesiosis, a disease targeting red blood cells in lions, led to the death of 23 lions in Gir National Park. To tackle such threats, the centre will work on 4 principles: surveillance, response, prevention, and preparedness. The nodal agency overseeing this initiative is the Central Zoo Authority. Now, let's talk about Project Lion itself. Launched in 2020, this initiative focuses on securing Asiatic lions through habitat improvement and advanced monitoring technologies like radio collars and cameras. In terms of conservation status, the Asiatic lion is classified as vulnerable by the IUCN, is listed under Schedule 1 and 4 of the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972 and falls under Appendix 1 of CITES. But conservation efforts do not stop here. Other initiatives include the International Big Cats Alliance, launched in 2023, and the Greater Gir concept, which aims to create new lion habitats beyond the Gir National Park and Sanctuary. One such emerging habitat is the Barda Wildlife Sanctuary, which is now being developed as a second home for lions. Now, let's take a closer look at lions themselves. Lions live in prides and thrive in grasslands and plains. Males patrol their territory through scent marking, while females and their sisters stay together for life. Males, however, leave upon maturity. Interestingly, lions spend nearly 20 hours a day resting or sleeping and prefer hunting at night when prey is easier to capture. They also do not have a fixed breeding season, with a gestation period ranging from 100 to 119 days. Finally, how do Asiatic lions compare with their African counterparts? The Asiatic lion, Panthera leo persica, is slightly smaller, with males weighing between 350 to 450 pounds. They have shorter, sparser, and darker males, along with a distinctive long skin fold under their belly. Their prides are also smaller, usually consisting of 2 to 5 females. In contrast, the African male Panthera leo is larger, with males weighing between 330 to 500 pounds. They have fuller, longer manes that cover their entire head. Unlike their Asiatic cousins, they lack the belly skin fold and form larger prides, often with up to 6 females. With the government's renewed focus on conservation, these initiatives will play a crucial role in ensuring the survival of Asiatic lions for generations to come. In our next news, we bring you a significant legal development where the Supreme Court has overturned an Allahabad High Court order citing judicial overreach. Let's break down what happened and what it means for the broader debate on judicial activism versus judicial overreach. In the Man Singh Verma case, the Allahabad High Court directed the Narcotics Control Bureau, or NCB, to compensate an individual for alleged wrongful confinement. However, the Supreme Court ruled that this order amounted to judicial overreach, as the Code of Criminal Procedure does not grant courts the authority to award compensation for illegal detention. To understand the significance of this ruling, let's delve into the concepts of judicial activism and judicial overreach. Judicial activism refers to the proactive role courts play in defending citizens' rights and advancing justice. A prime example is the use of public interest litigation, or PIL, to address pressing social issues. However, When the judiciary goes beyond its jurisdiction and interferes with executive or legislative functions, it crosses into judicial overreach. This can undermine the separation of powers, a key principle of democracy. The judiciary, as the final interpreter of the Constitution, has the power to review laws and executive actions under Articles 32 and 226. Courts can strike down unconstitutional laws and policies to safeguard fundamental rights. Judicial overreach occurs when courts take on functions beyond their constitutional mandate. For instance, when courts modify arbitral awards using Article 142, they risk overstepping their authority, encroaching on the roles of the legislature and executive. Several landmark cases illustrate judicial activism in action. Vishakha vs. State of Rajasthan 1997, the Supreme Court laid down guidelines for the protection of women at the workplace. Maneka Gandhi vs. Union of India 1978, the court reinterpreted procedure established by law to align with the due process of law. In the national anthem case, Shyam Narayan Chokshi vs. Union of India 2018, liquor was banned near national and state highways, a decision that had widespread economic and social implications. Courts must exercise judicial restraint to uphold the separation of powers. As former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh aptly noted, the dividing line between judicial activism and judicial overreach is a thin one. The Supreme Court's decision in the Man Singh Verma case reiterates the importance of maintaining judicial boundaries. While judicial activism remains essential in upholding rights, unchecked judicial overreach can disrupt governance. Moving on, a recent study has confirmed that climate change is significantly increasing flood frequency in High Mountain Asia or HMA. The analysis, which examined flood events from 1950 to 2023, highlights that rising temperatures are the key driver of these extreme events. Since 1950, HMA has been warming at a rate of 0.3 degrees Celsius per decade. This temperature rise has not only increased overall flooding, but also made their timing more unpredictable. While most floods still occur during the monsoon season, there has been a notable increase in events happening outside this period. The primary cause? Planetary heating from the burning of oil, coal and gas, which is driving all four major types of floods in the region. The study categorizes the floods into four types, each triggered by different climate-related factors. First, rain or pluvial floods or PF. These are caused by extreme rainfall, leading to surface runoff and flash floods, particularly in the Himalayas. Second, snowmelt-induced floods or SF. Rising temperatures accelerate snowmelt, increasing river discharge. This type is more frequent in the Tian Shan region. Third, glacial lake outburst floods or GLOFs. These occur when glacial lakes breach due to melting glaciers or landslides, with Karakoram and the Himalayas being the most affected. And finally, landslide-damped lake outburst floods or LLOFs. These happen when landslides block rivers, forming temporary lakes that eventually breach. The Hengduan Mountains see the highest occurrence of these floods. Experts emphasize the need for immediate action. Prioritizing real-time flood monitoring in vulnerable valleys is crucial. Additionally, strengthening data sharing agreements between HMA nations can help address transboundary threats effectively. Furthermore, promoting community-based flood mitigation efforts, including locally led construction of protective infrastructure, is essential for building resilience. To understand the significance of these floods, we must look at the importance of HMA itself. Often referred to as the Asian Water Tower, HMA holds the largest reservoir of frozen water outside the polar regions. It feeds 10 major rivers and supports more than 2 billion people. Geographically, it consists of the Tibetan Plateau, surrounded by the mountain ranges of Tian Shan, Pamir, Hindu Kush and Karakoram to the west, the Himalayas to the south and southeast, and Kilian Shan to the east. With climate change accelerating flood risk, the study underscores the urgent need for regional cooperation and proactive measures. And as the crisis unfolds, preparedness and mitigation strategies will be key in safeguarding communities and ecosystems. Ahead, we bring you a significant development in urban governance and climate action. The Ahmedabad Municipal Corporation, or AMC, has made history by becoming the first urban local body to introduce a separate climate chapter in its budget. This is a crucial step towards sustainable urban development and climate resilience. The chapter, titled Sustainable and Climate Budget, earmarks one-third of AMC's budget for climate action in the financial year 2025-26. This initiative is focused on implementing the Net Zero Climate Resilient City Action Plan, which is aligned with India's target of achieving net zero emissions by 2070. Now, while AMC takes the lead in dedicating a separate climate budget chapter, it's interesting to know that Brihan Mumbai Municipal Corporation, or BMC, has also made strides in this direction. Earlier, BMC had unveiled a climate budget that allocated 33% of its capital expenditure to climate-related projects. But what exactly is climate budgeting and why is it important? Climate budgeting is a governance system that integrates climate commitments into the decision-making process for policies, actions, and budgets. This means that climate targets set in a city's climate action plan are directly linked to budget allocations. Furthermore, clear responsibilities are assigned for implementation and monitoring across the city government. Now, let's talk about the importance of climate budgeting for cities. It fosters climate-resilient development, curbs emissions, and aids in achieving both national and global climate goals. Additionally, it helps estimate the climate finance gap by analyzing expenditures and promotes innovative financial models to mobilize climate finance effectively. Local administration plays a pivotal role in climate action. Since the impact of climate change varies across regions, localized actions become more effective. For instance, into the 2024-25 budget, Mumbai's BMC allocated nearly 30% of its capital budget to tackle urban flooding. Moreover, local bodies act as first responders during climate change-induced extreme weather events such as landslides. They also have access to local and traditional knowledge, which can be instrumental in climate adaptation and mitigation. A great example of this is the traditional Kundi rainwater harvesting system in Rajasthan. Now, how do local governments finance climate action? There are several mechanisms in place. One of them is green and sustainability-linked bonds, like the Vadodara Green Muni Bond. Another approach is performance-based fiscal transfers to local governments, such as the UN Capital Development Fund's Local Climate Adaptive Living Facility, also known as LOCAL. Additionally, cities can impose pollution and congestion charges, much like London's congestion charge and low-emission zones. As urban centers continue to grow, integrating climate commitments into budgeting is no longer an option. It is a necessity. Now, we focus on a pressing health concern, obesity. The Prime Minister has called for a 10% reduction in edible oil consumption as part of efforts to combat this growing issue. But why is this important? Let's take a closer look. Obesity is defined as an abnormal or excessive fat accumulation that poses a risk to health, as per the World Health Organization. The Body Mass Index, or BMI, is the key tool used to classify obesity. It is calculated by dividing a person's weight in kilograms by their height in meters squared. A BMI of 25 or above is considered overweight, while a BMI of 30 or more falls under the obese category. The consequences of obesity are severe, leading to a rise in cardiovascular diseases, diabetes, cancers, neurological disorders, and chronic respiratory diseases. The statistics are alarming. In 2022, 1 in 8 people worldwide was living with obesity, with cases among children and adolescents between 5 to 19 years having quadrupled. Zooming into India, data from NFHS 5 2019 to 2021 reveals that 24% of women and 23% of men are overweight or obese. Additionally, childhood obesity is on the rise, with overweight rates among children under 5 increasing from 2.1% in 2015 to 16 to 3.4% in 2019 to 21. Several factors are contributing to this worrying trend. First, our diets have changed significantly. High-calorie, low-nutrient foods, including refined carbohydrates and saturated fats, have become more accessible than ever. Processed foods are now a staple in many households. Second, sedentary lifestyles are taking a toll. Long hours of sitting, excessive screen time, and minimal physical activity have reduced movements in daily routines, making weight gain inevitable. And finally, the increasing use of genetically modified crops has altered food composition, impacting metabolism and leading to weight gain. To tackle this issue, several government initiatives are in place. Poshan Abhiyan aims to improve nutritional outcomes for children, adolescent girls, pregnant women, and lactating mothers. The Fit India movement promotes active lifestyles and encourages individuals to incorporate fitness into their daily routines. The National Program for Prevention and Control of NCDs focuses on promoting health through behavior change by engaging communities, civil society, and media. Eat Right India ensures safe, healthy, and sustainable food for all, while the RUCO or Repurpose Used Cooking Oil initiative aims to safely repurpose used cooking oil. With obesity becoming a global epidemic, the Prime Minister's call for a 10% reduction in edible oil consumption is a step towards healthier dietary habits. But real change requires awareness and conscious lifestyle modifications at an individual level. In today's Place in News, we will be discussing Uruguay, whose capital is Montevideo. Recently, Yamanandu Orsi took office as Uruguay's new president. Let's go over a few key facts about the country. Uruguay is South America's second smallest nation after Suriname. It shares its land borders with Brazil to the north, Argentina to the west, while its eastern boundary meets the Atlantic Ocean. Geographically, Uruguay experiences a warm temperate climate. Its terrain is influenced by the Pampas, a vast region of fertile lowlands in southeastern South America. Interestingly, the term Pampa originates from the Quechua word meaning flat plain. The country's major rivers include the Rio de la Plata, the Parana River, and the Uruguay River, which forms the natural border between Uruguay and Argentina. Additionally, Uruguay's coastal waters are shaped by two major ocean currents: the Brazil Current, which is warm and moves northward, and the Malvinas Current, which is cold, nutrient-rich, and flows southward. As we conclude today's main news, let's have a look at some quick updates. The Election Commission has clarified that duplication in the elector's photo identification card or EPIC number does not imply duplicate or fake voters. The clarification was issued in response to the issue of identical EPIC numbers appearing in two different states. Exercise Desert Hunt 2025 was conducted by the Indian Air Force at Air Force Station Jodhpur. It is an integrated tri-service special forces exercise that involved elite units from all three services. It involved Para Special Forces of the Indian Army, the Marine Commandos of the Indian Navy, and the Garud Special Forces of the Indian Air Force. The Archaeological Survey of India has discovered ancient rock art and inscriptions within the Sri Lanka Malleshwara Wildlife Sanctuary. Located in Andhra Pradesh, this sanctuary plays a crucial role in the region's ecosystem as it forms the catchment area for the Penna River. The Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, in collaboration with the Niti Aayog, have launched Swavalambiनी, Women Entrepreneurship Program. It is a movement towards gender-inclusive entrepreneurship. The objective is to empower female students in higher education institutions with entrepreneurial skills, resources, and mentorship. A new study reveals that Martian red color is due to ferrihydrite than previously thought hematite, present in the planet's dust. Unlike hematite, ferrihydrite forms quickly in presence of cool water, meaning its presence on Mars is direct evidence of the planet's wetter past. UN Environment Programme-led initiative focuses on biodiversity conservation, sustainable land management, and enhanced water security in Lake Tanganyika Basin. It is funded by Global Environment Facility. The aim is to enhance transboundary cooperation among the four countries bordering the lake. Kurdish group PKK, Kurdistan Workers' Party, declares ceasefire with Turkey. The group launched an armed insurgency against the Turkish state in the early 1980s, originally seeking independence for the Kurds. It is banned as a terrorist group in Turkey, EU, UK, and the US. Indian Council of Medical Research report links high levels of selenium in wheat to hair loss. Selenium is a natural element needed in small amounts for health. It's harmful if consumed in amounts just double of what the body needs. Before we sign off, let's challenge your understanding in today's installment of Test Your Learning. Thank you for joining us. We hope you found this episode of News Today engaging. For the solutions to the quiz and to access the PDF version of News Today, remember to visit the provided links in the description.